Today, I'm here with Irina Steinbeck, a data professional with a background in many areas, including civil engineering, management consultancy, and finance. Irina has a lot of experience managing implementations of ERP, enterprise resource planning solutions, lots of experience in data management. She is the founder of Data Crossroads. She published 4 books. One is in development. And the hope here is to leave you with a solid understanding of what data lineage is, what isn't, what is the value, cost, and benefit for the organization, and some of the execution tips, and perhaps a framework to communicate why this is important to your business stakeholders.
Hi, everybody. And first of all, I would like to thank Loris for this opportunity. Data lineage for me is one of the most challenging topics in data management. So I would like to share with you my knowledge, experience, and challenges.
What is data lineage and why do we need to worry about it?
Data lineage is simply description of path that data flows from its origin to its destination. That's all. So finally, data lineage will give you an answers on several questions. What is the origin of your data? What kind of transformation data had undergone along the data chains? And where you can find your data and where data goes to? The biggest challenge with data lineage is that you can document data lineage at various abstraction levels. So even if company would demonstrate how data sets flow between various applications and will attach these applications to business processes, it's data lineage. If somebody will describe data processing at the physical level, how data comes from which tables, which fields to which tables to which fields, and which ETLs has been built on this way, it's also data lineage. Yeah? So this is one of the most challenging and trickiest point about data lineage, to define correctly what you are talking about.
When something goes wrong, if you know what are you looking at, what came before, what's the causal almost chain of events that led to something, then
Sure. Maybe more simple explanation, because we all speak about life cycles. Yeah, we have product life cycle, we have business life cycle, we have company life cycle, but we also have data life cycle. You define requirements for data, you describe data, you transform data, you use data, and you archive data. But then to realize this data life cycle, a company builds data chains. Yeah, so finally, set of applications, a databases. When you have this chain in place, you use data lineage to describe it, because the data lineage by itself, it's documentation of various data chains. I'm not sure whether it's such simple, but it's 3 steps. Yeah, you have data lifecycle, it's general concept. You have physical implementation of data lifecycle, and it's simply set of applications, and data lineage simply describes it.
There's so many examples of lineage, and even if we don't call it that way, we should actually have an intuition of why this is important. What led you to write the book? What was your intention? Which problems, which pain points were you trying to address?
For some time, data lineage was only topic discussed among technical professionals. Then I've met the situation that business users started talking about data lineage. And here I saw a very big gap between the expectations of business users, who has reasonably low level knowledge in technical stuff, and what real data lineage is. Yeah? So I wanted to explain in plain business language what data lineage means, especially also because when you start implementing data lineage, a company often doesn't take into account the real needs of business people. That a lot of people speak about data management, about data modeling, and nobody really cares about data lineage. It's really funny because it's contradiction. For every other data management capability, like data quality, data modeling, you need data lineage. Yeah, you need to know what happened to data. And finally, data lineage describes what happened to data. And how detailed you're going to describe it, of course, it's very dependable on the requirements or needs of the company. And in my book, I describe at least 4 different categories of these needs. Yeah, and first of all is, of course, regulatory need. Yeah, because there are some regulations that really demand data lineage. The second very important group of reasons is business changes. There are other type of business changes like digital transformation. What digital transformation is simply to make processes digital. But in digital processes, data is one of the key sources because data is input and data is output. And then again, you need to know what happened to the data, and you again come across data lineage. Yeah?
In the book, you go in detail of how one should approach these different levels. If I understood correctly, there are things in lineage that can be automated.
Yeah, because just now we jump, why do we need to know exactly what kind of data lineage we need? Because it will influence the way how you will document it. Because, for example, at business, conceptual and logical level, it's descriptive data lineage when you simply describe it. But at physical level, you should really implement data lineage using automated methods. And there are a lot of providers who do it. And finally, what it means, their software should simply scan metadata in applications and read data back into some metadata repositories. Why it's very important to understand from the early beginning what kind of data lineage a company needs, because it will influence all data lineage business case. Yeah, what kind of software do you need? What kind of implementation method are you going to use? How are you going to use? Because of course, from the theoretical viewpoint, it's very nice to start from business level and go down to physical. What happened in reality? Of course, a lot of companies start from the physical data lineage, because this is where people know it's easier. And sometimes it's reverse engineering that you mentioned in your example. But finally, sometimes it's only the one way to find out what really happened, especially in the case of legacy software. Yeah. One possibility to find out what happened really with data within the company. And then you start with physical data lineage, and then you can, of course, go up. When I wrote this book, Data Management Toolkit, and at the same time I started my journey in data lineage, it took me 3 years to realize very simple logic. Implementation of data management follows the logic of documentation of data lineage. When you start documenting data lineage, you need to have data governance in place, you need to have data modeling in place, you need to have data architecture in place. And if you don't have these capabilities, you need to build it. And when you build it, you really develop your data management capability or function, whatever you want to say.
Irina, who is responsible for data lineage in a company? Perhaps we can think of engineers or technical people, because it's more has to do with writing queries or reading metadata. Is it correct, my understanding, that as you go through up in the abstraction ladder, then you start broadening the scope of people?
Yeah. I would really split it in accountable and responsible, because accountable is something who is accountable to set up the whole story. And in this case, it will be top management who has to be accountable for describing what happened to data. Data goes from various business lines, so it requires involvement of various business departments. So somebody needs to coordinate. So top management is accountable, and responsibility depends on the level of documentation. I would say end business users and technical people are responsible for the documentation. But even if a company starts with documenting physical data lineage, they still need to ask business people what is critical for business people. Yeah, where to start, how to scope.
What are the first steps, and who needs to be involved, and what is the relationship or the communication lines between those that are responsible for implementing this capability and the folks like the Data Governance Council, if there is one? What should we do first, and what are the right people to put in the room?
The right people to put in the room, first of all, it's the key stakeholders that get the biggest pain. And in this case, the biggest pain is on the side of finance people, CFO, maybe CEO. My vision is always CFO who could start, running and screaming, we need to do something.
What do you typically do when a customer, first of all, which types of customers approach you with Data Crossroads, and what is your role? What's your work?
It's large international companies. There are companies that already have data management programs for years, and there are some companies that don't have this experience so far. So
Yeah.
my role in that case is very simple. I need to have some people dedicated from the company who maybe don't have proper experience or proper knowledge, but who are willing to learn very quickly.
ramp up, yeah.
I need to discuss with people what they want. I need to advise them what they need. And we need to build these capabilities within their limited amount of time.